Hello, this is Anna Schulman with Complete Financials, solving QuickBooks Online questions. And in this video, we're going to work through mysteries of undeposited funds account. I have seen in my clients' books undeposited funds account not being taken seriously and a lot of times just forgotten and overlooked and never reconciled. One time I found a $10,000 check that was presented to the bank but was never deposited to the bank, and so at the end of the day the client never had that check deposited into their checking account. I've also seen how working through undeposited funds account, the business was able to identify customer payments that were recorded in QuickBooks but never cleared their bank account for, well, different reasons. So generally, I like working through this account because I'm excited to see what I will be able to find. In this video, we will work through what leads to the transactions to go to the undeposited funds account and what needs to be done in order to work through undeposited funds account to clear and reconcile this account to bring it current. We will also look through common errors of having duplicate entries that relate to the undeposited funds account. Introduction to the undeposited funds, check out this video. You will be able to see how the transactions that lead to this account are recorded in debits and credits, which is very helpful if you want to become more proficient and confident using QuickBooks. All right, let's dive in. We're in the sample file of QuickBooks, and we will use this file to record transactions that lead to undeposited funds. So what we're going to start with is recording two customer invoices. Let's start with recording one for Andrew Webb. So we will record a new invoice transaction. And here we will date it March 1st, let's say 2023. And let's say we gave them 15 days terms for the payment. And our product and service will be professional services. Our rate for the work that was completed for that invoice is $12.50. So now we have a balance due of $12.50 for Andrew Webb dated March 1st, 2023, and we will save this. What happens when you create an invoice transaction in QuickBooks? I love using this feature, which is a transaction journal that will show you in debits and credits. I feel debits and credits is an important part of QuickBooks. In our case, sales is a credit, it goes up, and accounts receivable is a debit, it goes up as well. Now let's go back to the customer and let's record the payment. So it's Andrew Webb and we will be recording a payment. So we're receiving a payment. Let's say our payment is arriving on the 21st and the payment was received through a credit card. So instead of the payment going straight to the bank deposit, in our case, our payment is going to go to undeposited funds, because in undeposited funds, it will group with another payment and we will receive a deposit into our account from the merchant company that is a combination of several payments from our customers. So in this case, Andrew Webb paid us on March 21st, the entire payment for this invoice. So he paid it in full. Save and close. Now we see that this customer does not owe us anything. His balance is $0. We're going to go ahead and record another payment for Melina. Let's find Miss Melina Richardson. Okay, and in this case, we will record an invoice as well that is dated March 5th, 2023. It also will be for professional services. In this case, the amount that we're charging is $340.58. And we're also giving 2 weeks terms, or net 15. We will save this invoice, and also we'll see that our customer accounts receivable balance is now $340.58. So we're expecting them to pay us. And as always, we can go into the transaction under more to transaction journal, and we will be able to see that the accounts receivable goes up with the debit, and sales on our profit and loss is now a $340.58. Let's go back to the transaction. In this case, we will also record a payment for this invoice. One moment. It is Melina Richardson. So we're recording a payment. This invoice is also going to be paid in full by credit card. So our credit card, we're selecting the invoice. The entire invoice is getting paid. Save and close. So the next two things we will see. First of all, let's see how recording invoices translated into the profit and loss. As we recall from that transaction report, there is an account that went on profit and loss, which is sales. So if we would to look under reports and profit and loss, March 1st through March 31st. So our sales are $1590.58. You can always dial into that number, and we see that our Andrew Webb invoice and Melina Richardson invoice were recorded for the total sales revenue of $1590.58. The next thing to check would be accounts receivable. So let's see how transactions also arrive on the report for accounts receivable. Since we received the payments today, we will not have any accounts receivable open. But if we would look as of March 20th, before our payments arrived, we see that we had an accounts receivable for Andrew Webb and Melina Richardson. So the same thing, $1,590.58. We receive a payment on March 31st. Our accounts receivable goes down to zero because it is no longer have anything to show there. But further, this payments are now sent out to the undeposited funds account on the balance sheet. So let's go there, and we see that since accounts receivable has been closed to zero, we received the payments. Now these payments are in an undeposited funds account, which is our safe in the bank that holds our customer payments until we're ready to take it and put it into one deposit and take it to the bank. And that brings us to the next step. We will create the bank deposit and put this two payments in the bank deposit dated March 21st, going into the correct account. Save and close for the total amount of $1590.58. The next thing is to go to the banking feeds and match this transaction as it cleared our bank account. I have multiple transactions here, but it looks like this is our transaction. So we have uploaded or updated our banking info. In my case, I'm using a sample account. So transactions have been imported in here, but our deposit that cleared the bank is $1590.58. And when we have the information about that in our banking feeds, we can either categorize it, but in our case, we're going to have to find match because we previously recorded this deposit in the QuickBooks. So it is in the checking register of bank account 0001. So here QuickBooks found a match for us. We can match, save and close. The next thing would be good to double check just for the purpose of this video is what happens to that transaction. We had a deposit here that is under the account. It says split. Split is because it has multiple payments attached to the deposit, or it could be different lines in the transaction that are being used to record the entire transaction. Now $1590.58 is the amount. It tells us for the C that it is tentatively reconciled and cleared, and it adds this manually added from bank feeds little sign here as soon as we match it from the banking feeds. Most common errors that I have seen. Let's say that we never created a bank deposit, and so our payments are still sitting in the bank deposit screen. We just forgot to do that step in QuickBooks. And also that once our deposit cleared the bank and we uploaded transactions from the bank to QuickBooks, in the banking feeds, we see this deposit and we are just going to categorize it as sales. So, right, this is very common. I see the deposit was coming through my account. This is credit card transactions. Well, of course, it came from sales. I know that it didn't come from anywhere else. I'm going to record that. And the one thing that I will know now is that when we look at the profit and loss, we will see that our revenue is doubled for the month of March. Okay, the month of March, and now instead of 1,500 that we should have had, we have 1,381.16, right? We have an individual invoices, and then we have the credit card deposit. This error is very common, and as we can see, it affects the sales revenue, not something you would like to overstate by error. The other parts of these transactions can be looked at on the balance sheet. We know that on March 20th, we had still an accounts receivable open, and undeposited funds is not here because we still did not receive a payment. On March 21st, however, our accounts receivable is 0, and now we received a payment and this amount has moved to undeposited funds account. Well, the problem here is this. If we look at today, and since the deposit has already cleared our bank account on March 21st, we should not see this undeposited funds or payments that are sitting in undeposited funds account. So the problem here is that on our profit and loss, as we recall, there is too much of sales revenue that's been recorded. Let's just say all dates, because that's, I believe, the only revenue I have recorded in this file. So what needs to be done is that from this deposit, we will need to come to the deposit, select the payments, and turn this transaction into closing undeposited funds account. It's going to ask you, do you want to change the amount? The amount of the deposit is $1590.58. The one step that I would need to do is delete the sale right here, because this amount does not need to go on the profit and loss under the sales revenue account. It needs to close the payments or send the payments to the bank account. Once I have this transactions processed correctly, this transaction is going to leave our profit and loss account, and sales revenue is going to go back to what it's supposed to be. One more thing we will see if we look at our balance sheet, we can say as of today, that's just going to accomplish this. Our accounts receivable, as we know, is closed. We received the payment. They do not owe us. Our undeposited funds account is now went to the bank account. So our payments have been deposited to the bank account. And once again, when we actually look at the deposit in the check register, I can just even look it up, 1590. Maybe not like that. How about this way? Okay, 1590. So this is my deposit. We're back to where we needed to be, right? We have a deposit that is actually feeding into these two payments for 1590.58, and these two fields are important because it tells me that it cleared our bank account and it has been added from the bank feeds, manually matched to the transaction that we had in QuickBooks. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you find this helpful. Please send out your questions and comments, and like and subscribe so you can easily find me. And until next time, be well.